A good day to you! We welcome you to the map of the social self. As we can see, it has been divided into three parts: the social self, the system of the self, and the culture and the self.
Let us start with our social self. We were born with no knowledge of the world and its societal norms. We only learn these things through the process of socialization. Socialization is the process in which people learn the basic skills, values, and behavior patterns of the society. Through this, we develop a sense of self, or an awareness that each one of us possess a distinct identity that separates us from others. There are 4 theories on socialization. The first theory is tabula rasa, theorized by John Locke. Locke theorized that humans are born with a blank slate personality, and it is through our social experiences that we eventually gain our personality. Second is the looking glass theory by Charles Horton Cooley. The sense of self of an individual is based off of how they believe others perceive them to be. First, the individual imagines how others view them to be. Then, it imagines how others pass judgment based on that view. And lastly, the individual responds to the judgment from others. Third is role-taking by George Herbert Mead. We see ourselves as others see us and take on or pretend to take on the roles of others. And lastly, the I versus me. I is the response of an individual to others, while me is the organized set of attitudes of others which an individual assumes.
Okay, so next up we have the system of the self. The system of the self is comprised of 4 mechanisms. First, we have the social mechanism. The social mechanism is in relation to our interpersonal interactions or the interactions we have with other people. Second, we have the psychological mechanism. The psychological mechanism are comprised of self-concepts that people apply to themselves. Third, we have the neural mechanism. The neural mechanism has something to do with how our cognition functions in relation to the hormones and neurotransmitters that triggers it. Fourth, and the last, we have the molecular mechanism. The molecular mechanism goes down to the components of the self that goes beyond what we see with our naked eye, involved in genetics and epigenetics.
Lastly, we have to consider how the self is affected by culture. As Filipinos, we can definitely say that the road to knowing the self is not as highlighted compared to other cultures. After all, the self is viewed in different perspectives with the factor concerning geographic location taken into consideration. 2 other factors that are connected to the culture and the self are socioeconomic development and religious heritage. In areas where their economy is already developed, like those in the Western countries, their quality of life and values are a stark contrast to a third world country like the Philippines. There is a sense of individualism in their culture, while that is not the case for us. Because of how we live and what we strive for, which is usually to rise from hardships, the self is noticed last. We are immersed in a culture wherein we have people depending on us in order to sustain ourselves. With regards to religious heritage, cultures like ours have traditions that are intertwined with religious values. How people are seen, how their actions and way of expressing themselves are viewed, and how our ideas are criticized are all affected by the influence of religion. And that is it for the map of the social self. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. We hope that you learned something from the video.